Hello, my name is Jessica Heredia, and I am here with East County Magazine. Today, we're talking to Mayor Racquel Vasquez of the city of Lemon Grove, and she is running for the 79th State Assembly District here. And we wanted to kind of get an idea of what's going on with, her goals and her accomplishments to get her here so far. Welcome, Racquel Vasquez, for joining us today. We appreciate your time. We know you're busy.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I want to congratulate you on your campaign. You know what, we hope the best for you, and we look forward to seeing the results come March. First of all, I'd like to start off with some of your biggest accomplishments that got you to this point so far.
Well, it truly is an honor to serve as the mayor for the city of Lemon Grove. And while I was elected mayor in 2016, I actually started my journey as a planning commissioner. And I served as about 6 years, and then got elected to the city council in 2012 as council member, and subsequently ran for mayor 2016 and reelected in 2020. One of my biggest accomplishments is that the city of Lemon Grove is the only city in the entire county of San Diego that is recognized as meeting the affordable housing requirements, the state mandated affordable housing requirements. And what that means is when the state of California said, hey, cities, we need counties, we need cities to build housing, affordable housing, we did just that. And we took a look at our zoning and we made changes. And then we streamlined our development process for developers. And that allowed us to not only meet that requirement, but also exceed it. And this was recognized in a grand jury investigative report that was published in 2023. So that's one of my biggest accomplishments, paving more roads than the city has ever paved in its existence, but also making sure that our parks are clean and safe, and that we're bringing quality of life forward for residents to enjoy. And so those are some of my biggest accomplishments. And I say within this year, there's so much more to come.
Awesome. Great. Those were wonderful accomplishments. Thank you. And I know living in Lemon Grove myself and having the trolley right there, more housing is such a great thing to be having in Lemon Grove for all people to get to work and use public transit. So kudos. Good work. Okay, great. So let's talk about storm drains. I know that impacted just about every region of the 79th district here recently. I know that Lemon Grove was hard hit as well as the trolley tracks, as well as personal homes. I'd like to find out what you would like to do as state assembly if you get elected, to find more funding maybe for District 79, and maybe for perhaps maintenance or even improving the infrastructure so that we can mitigate having these kinds of problems moving forward. What ideas do you have?
What I think is that you've asked a couple of questions all in one. And so number one, you asked about storm drains. And we recently experienced a 1,000-year storm. What that means is that kind of storm rolls around San Diego County in 1,000 years. It's not every day. And I'd like to provide this overview of what the impact was. In this county, the storm drain system is set up in a way it's designed based on the topography, meaning that all water runs downhill. And so we received 4 inches of rain here in Lemon Grove, and all parts of the county did as well. And the water from east areas such as El Cajon and Spring Valley ran towards or flowed towards Lemon Grove and La Mesa. What that means is their 4 inches of water flowed to Lemon Grove. We had our own 4 inches of water, which created 8 inches of water, which did not stay because our system is set up in a way where the water will continue to flow towards the ocean outfall, okay? In terms of our system and looking at its design and the way it functioned during that time, it functioned just the way that it was supposed to. Our now 8 inches of water that was here in Lemon Grove flowed towards San Diego, combining with their 4 inches of water, 4 inches of rain, which created what we were able to see as the end result with the January 22nd storm. So I just kind of wanted to give you that overview of what exactly it was as it relates to that storm. I want to take this opportunity to thank our staff for responding, because immediately our public works folks and our administrative staff went to work right away to make sure that those places and spaces that were impacted were mitigated, cleaning up debris. And while that water that flowed, it was not crystal clear. The debris that were in Spring Valley, El Cajon, and all other places that flow towards Lemon Grove and beyond picked up debris. And so there was a heavy and constant process in place to clean up those debris on behalf of our staff and to make sure that we could ebb and flow throughout our city. And so they worked 24 hours around the clock to make sure that that happened. But also, too, on the administrative side, staff worked diligently to make sure that resources were in place so that not only we could mitigate appropriately and clean up, but also resources for the community, such as the ability for people who had debris to dump their trash debris in front of City Hall on these big dumpsters, but also to make sure that there was sand for sandbag for follow-up storms that we're getting ready to roll forward, and making sure that all of the resources that were available to residents, that they could know about those resources via our social media and beyond. So in terms of the storm, that's the overview for the city of Lemon Grove. What can be done at the state level? The way government works is, you have to have data in order to justify funding. And there's thresholds that you have to meet based on the data and the numbers. And so there was a direct effort in place on behalf of the County of San Diego to collect that data via a survey. And everyone in the county was encouraged to fill out that survey. What that survey was for, it was so that we could show the amount of damage that occurred within our area, the entire county, to justify FEMA resources. And so that data was utilized in order to try and meet that threshold. For the city of Lemon Grove, that threshold was $16 million of uninsured damage. I can't tell you what the result is right now, but for those who filled out that survey, FEMA definitely took a look at those areas to see what the uninsured damage was based on their criteria to determine whether or not the city of Lemon Grove met that threshold. There are thresholds that you have to meet, but also that threshold is based on the data collected and the observation of those who determine whether or not that monetary amount was reached. And that applies not only to the federal level, but to the state level as well. So we will see what the end result will be of that. In the meantime, I really do understand that the storm has hit everybody in a meaningful way. And just know that there are resources out there. I encourage everyone to reach out to 211 to find out about all of those available resources. That's an easy way to tap in and get the information that you need so that you can start the process of filling out the applications or applying online. And we'll see what happens in the future.
Great, thank you. And then as far as affordable housing, I know you did mention a bunch of housing that's being built. But let's talk about affordable housing specifically. In San Diego, we've seen a lot of luxury apartments get built. And in the course of that happening, it often raises the rents of what were older units that were traditionally considered affordable housing prior to the housing crisis that we're having now. What is a way that we can bridge the gap between, obviously there's people that want luxury apartments and we want to cater to that as well, but people that maybe are in moderate to middle incomes as well as low income housing to help kind of make sure everybody's housed in our District 79.
So there is something called RENA numbers.
Mhm.
And RENA numbers are established by the state of California based on what the state thinks the area can accommodate in terms of newly built housing. And there are categories, everything from low income to low income, middle income, and then the high-end luxury income housing. And there's all sorts of categories, everything from apartments to condos and townhomes and single family homes that can be built. Now, there is a difference between the numbers that are assigned and then the ability to actually build. Government is not in the business of building, that's private enterprise. However, government is required to show that there is capacity to build those specified categories of housing. And that process takes place every 10 years. The expectation is that cities and counties will allow developers to develop. And that is the expectation. And the goals are quite lofty. So you asked the question about low-income housing versus high-income housing. And I'll tell you this, in a community, you need to have a mix because in a community, you have a little bit of everyone. And so, yes, we need low-income housing, but we want to encourage and inspire others to live within a specific jurisdiction as well. For the city of Lemon Grove, if I can bring that back, the city of Lemon Grove is a working class community. And it's a really great place, a really great space to raise a family. And because it's a working class community, you have people who work in law enforcement and are teachers and work in government and all of the different professions that really help to make our society run. And we want to make sure that we have a place and a space for those working class people to live. Hey, I'm actually included in that category as well as a working class person. So, that is the goal for this city. But I'll say the goal beyond in terms of the 79th Assembly District, that we focus in on making sure that there is housing built for people, because that's important. I think that if you work an honest job and you're making an honest wage, and I don't care if you're, part of those who maintain buildings or you're the CEO of a company, you deserve the basics. And those basics include shelter, access to healthy food options, access to education for you and your children, access to transportation, no matter how you decide to ebb and flow throughout the county, but also good quality health care. I think that's important for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. And I know with Akilah Weber, when she had this seat, or still does to this point, she focused a lot of her attentions on things like Parks and Rec, community events focused around education or families. What kind of projects do you think you'll want to focus on as your main goals and objectives?
Those are important because they bring community together. And thank you for elevating that. And I'm a supporter of doing just that. We in Lemon Grove, we put in a considerate effort to make sure that we had more events, more workshops for people to get involved with our processes, such as our budget processes, how we determine what streets we're going to pave and where, and all of the things that bring people together. Supporting food distribution events and having culturally awareness type events within our local parks. We also have concerts in the park as well. And so those things are important. But what's really important to ensure that we have a thriving 79th Assembly District is that we pay attention to the budget. We make sure that funding is allocated for the district, including like community-specific funding for infrastructure improvements, for park improvements, and to make sure every single dollar that this district deserves is allocated so that we can not only maintain our quality of life, but improve our quality of life, but also keeping our eye on the policies that are coming forward from the Assembly and the Senate, and making sure that we are supporting policies to sustain our environment, supporting policies that will ensure that we have a sound budget, and supporting policies to make sure that we have a good education system and a very good system in place for transportation. All of those things are important.
Absolutely. Great. Okay, and so homelessness, that's also another item that is impacting, all of the communities in the district. I know many of the cities in that district had seen increases in the last year or even previous years coming to now. What are some ideas that you have to get more funding maybe for the region? Is there programs or bills or legislation you'd like to, you have ideas for, or what can you do as a state assembly member? What can you do to help with the homelessness in that district?
Well, I will elevate this here. As an assembly member, you're actually one of 79. So there are 79 other people that you got to get on board with change. And can it be done? Absolutely. So my thought is what really matters is the money. And so my goal would be to ultimately end on the budget committee so that, I'm able to see how the state funding is being allocated and to be part of the discussion to determine how that money will maintain the operation of what I hear now is the fourth largest economy in the entire world. Now that's huge and that's big.
Mhm.
And it's not going to happen overnight, but that is my goal, to eventually be on that budget committee. The other thing that's really important specifically is to see how I can be part of the housing and homeless committees, because that's a true need for not just the San Diego area, but for the entire state of California. And right now, there's efforts in place to ensure that homelessness is managed in a way to care for people. Right now, not right now, but last year, there was an initiative put on the ballot for a care court, which passed. And care court allows those who have serious mental challenges to be required to go through a rehabilitation program. And, it passed. Now it's time to ensure that there are facilities in place and that there's money allocated to ensure staff is available and that all of the tools are available to really help people. Ultimately, the goal is to make sure that the mental challenges are managed to a point where people can function in society and live on their own, or live with family. And so that's the long-term goal, but the funding is necessary. So there is an initiative on the ballot that people can vote for and do just that. If it were to pass, the state would build 10 facilities throughout the state of California that could house up to 1,000 people with services and all those things that they need so that they can function in society. That's important. The other thing that that bill will do is it will allocate $1.5 billion to cities throughout the state, including the city of Lemon Grove. Right now, as we speak, the city does not get any money to manage homelessness. We get $0. It's actually the county of San Diego that receives the funding and allocates the funding accordingly. And if I could just back up and talk a little bit about local municipal government, there are two forms of government that exist for cities. And it's a charter city, and then there's a general law city. And the charter city that exists here that people are most familiar with is the city of San Diego, where they don't necessarily operate off of the rules that are established by the state of California. And yes, they do some, but they have the ability to be more hands-on with their policies and procedures outside of the jurisdiction of the state. As a general law city, you follow under the guidelines that are established by the state. And the rules and guidelines that govern small cities throughout the San Diego County region direct us to the county for emergency disaster preparedness, for social type services, or to manage social type issues, and all of those things. And so, often people will think that, well, the city can do a certain thing, but by law and certain initiatives, and especially as it relates to disaster preparedness or a disaster that may happen, we are directed to follow the guidelines and all of the resources and all of the mandates that come from the county of San Diego. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. Now, back to homelessness.
Well, thank you for that, for explaining that.
Because people often think, well, the city can just do X, Y, and Z, and it's for certain things, it's not necessarily so. We look to the county of San Diego. And I'll give you this example. When COVID hit, it was truly the county that was the lead for all cities throughout San Diego County, including Lemon Grove. And so we had to follow the guidelines that were set by the county of San Diego rather than establishing our own. So now back to homelessness. I'll say since 2020, I would have never ever thought that the challenges that came our way would have been, listen, in less than 4 years, we had to deal with COVID, that were impacting us in a way where we had family members that were leaving us because there was something in the air. We had systemic racism issues that were bubbling up all over the place. And then we had the collapse of our economy all at the same time. And there is no playbook that says, well, you do X, Y, and Z to overcome these things. But you know what? We got through it together. And within a 4-year period, we had that 1,000-year storm. So I never, ever would have thought that all of these things would come my way in 4 years. Now, one thing that came out of COVID, while we were all so impacted in a way, our health and well-being was on the line, and our family members, for our government, specifically Lemon Grove, we were able to start a homeless outreach program. And in the first year of that program, we were able to help 583 people with services, temporary housing, leading to permanent housing. And in terms of the funding to support that, because the city gets $0, that was federal funding that was able to support that. And we renewed that effort as long as we possibly could with the money that we had. And it brought a benefit to the city unlike no other. And if COVID didn't happen, we would not have been able to do that. The other thing that we were able to do was really take a look at the needs of people. And we started a food distribution program, which is still active today and is led by Thrive Lemon Grove. And we are still partnering with Thrive Lemon Grove along with some other nonprofits to keep it going, because we know that people are struggling with money. And because they're struggling, the last thing that we want is for them to try and figure out how they're going to feed their families. And the other thing that we were able to do as a result of COVID and the money that came down was that we were able to start a gift card program, essentially an economy stimulus program, where we were able to provide a Lemon Grove gift card to people. The first phase of that gift card program allowed people to purchase a gift card, we'll say at $100, and the city would give them another $100 to spend in our small local businesses. And what it did was it introduced people to our business community, and you didn't have to live in Lemon Grove to buy one. So you could buy one, come to Lemon Grove and shop. And not only that, it allowed people to see Lemon Grove in a different light. Our business community was thriving, and the end result is the last economic report that I got for the city of Lemon Grove. It identified, when you take a look at this quarter versus last quarter last year, our sales revenue, our sales tax revenue was up 11%. So, you know, those are some of the things that came out of COVID, and a true benefit and doing something to help people. What's next as it relates to homelessness? There's a project that I've been working on for about 2.5 years. It's about 98% complete, and soon you'll be able to hear what the plans are. Now, from the state level, you know, it's all about the money and making sure that there's funding available. Right now, as we speak, funding for homeless issues, it's provided by one-time monies. Because we know this is a long-term ongoing issue, the state of California should set up a permanent funding mechanism to manage homelessness. And I would be willing to champion that effort. It's needed. We need to go ahead and not only realize and recognize that it is an issue, but put some long-term permanent money behind supporting the homeless issue and getting people off the streets to ensure that our communities are okay. And those who are experiencing homelessness are okay.
Great. And back to the gift card, is that program still available, or is that program ended?
So the program is still available. People can purchase gift cards. Now, the only difference today versus when we began the program was if you purchase one gift card, you got $1 per dollar. Now, if you purchase a gift card at $100, you'll get a $50 gift card to use at our small local businesses. Let me tell you about the impact of that. When I looked at the report last year in November, one of our businesses, I believe about $94,000 in gift cards were redeemed at their business. So you want to talk about a real financial impact and to keep our economy going, that gift card program did just that. So if you're interested in getting one, go ahead, purchase one, and shop local, support our small local businesses.
Wonderful. Love that. All right, now education. I know, at a federal level, there's a push for loan forgiveness and things of that nature. At the state assembly level, what can you do to help our residents get more access to education and maybe even find ways of more affordable education?
So one of my goals is to make sure that I have staff in place that will, on a quarterly basis, touch every single part of the district. And as part of that gentle touch, being at the local libraries, on a quarterly basis, having information about the programs and especially education and all of the things that make our community function as a society are available, but also an opportunity for people to, ask questions and also provide their recommendations moving forward. Now, as it relates to college, I think that when it comes to loan forgiveness, it's something that I can support. And the question is, does that loan forgiveness take place at the state level, or does it take place at the federal level? And if it is at the state level, what kind of funding mechanism can be in place to ensure that that money is there to forgive loans? I think at this point in time, perhaps there should be an exploratory committee put in place to see what the state of California can do as it relates to loan forgiveness. And I will be more than happy to be a part of that exploratory committee. The other part is education. So, we want to talk about TK through 12th grade and what that looks like. Our education system is really in need of a little TLC. Number one, we got to make sure that there's equity involved and that all kids are learning the same thing. We got to make sure that kids are able to learn about the true history of our state, but also of our nation, and not just a portion of our history. We need to make sure that resources are in place so that our kids are not behind. I think that with COVID, now that was one of the drawbacks of learning online, is that it kind of shifted our education system in a way where our kids are playing catch up. And so a good effort to catch them up to where they should be needs to be in place. And perhaps, that's taking place right now, but ensuring the funding to support that effort is in place so that our kids are educated and prepared to be great people in our society and great leaders in our society is important. And then making sure that everyone, no matter where you come from, regardless to your color, your beliefs, and all of that, that you are able to learn in an environment that's free of harassment and that's free so that you can learn and be exactly who you are.
Thank you. And then healthcare. Let's talk about, here in California, we're really lucky during COVID. There was a bigger push to get healthcare to the people. And I believe that, they've increased the Medi-Cal and Medicare for immigrants and unemployed people during the pandemic. What can you do as a state assembly member to continue that work, to get more healthcare, more affordable healthcare to the people in your district?
So personally, and sometimes it's always good to talk about what you believe personally. I think that single payer healthcare should be available to everyone here in the state. That would help to ensure that we all have access to good quality healthcare. But what I want to do is I want to hear from people in the district in terms of what they see as a realistic, reliable source of healthcare that can roll forward, that can be embraced at the state level and voted for so that we can actually implement that kind of program. So, healthcare and access to good quality healthcare is important. We all know that. And the question is, for those who live in the 79th Assembly District, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on healthcare? How can we create a system that will benefit everyone? And would you be in support of single payer healthcare? Because guess what? I am.
Awesome. Thank you. And then one more question. What is it that separates you from your opponents?
Well, what separates me from my opponents is this. Number one, I have experience and I've been working in government and creating policy since 2006. As a planning commissioner, ultimately being elected to the city council as council member, and then serving 2 times as mayor. And I have a laundry list of achievements, such as being able to meet that affordable housing requirement, creating an economic stimulus plan for our city, and getting people to support it. You know, it's called consensus building. And I've been able to do that as mayor since I got elected, but also being able to ensure that we can apply the funding that we get for the small city in a way that nets the biggest benefit for everyone. And so I've been creating policy for a very long time. But not only that, you can actually see the results. Fiscally responsible regarding funding and making sure that every single dime is counted for. And as a result, we were actually recognized by what they call GOLFA, but it's a organization that recognizes government agencies for good financial management. And in addition to that, I'm someone who cares. Listen, I am a wife to someone who has served our country for 24 years, and I've been married 30 years, and we have 2 daughters, so I'm a mother. And I am a native to California, born and raised, and went through the education system and went to college. My daughters went to college, and we know what the financial burden can look like. But also, too, I have a heart for service and for people. And just know that all of those things, when you put all of those things together, all of them, you know, you have someone who you can trust and believe in. So I say, send me to Sacramento. You know, I really am honored to serve the city of Lemon Grove. And it's something that speaks to my heart, and my heart will always be in the city. But this is an opportunity right here to expand leadership in such a way that will benefit the entire 79th Assembly District. We're talking El Cajon, La Mesa, Spring Valley, and the central part, the heart of San Diego, and Lemon Grove. And so just know I'm ready to serve, you know, and this is an opportunity to bring about change, the kind of change that we all want to see. One thing that I will say is, if you are interested in finding out more about me, you can always go to my webpage. It's RacquelVasquez.com. Again, RacquelVasquez.com. What you have here is truly proven leadership. And my goal is to continue to support a thriving community, not just for Lemon Grove, but for the entire 79th Assembly District.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, congratulations again, and best of luck to you. We'll be in touch with you, and hopefully we'll see you again after the primary.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you for your time.